Welcome to Celestial Insights, a weekly podcast that brings the stars down to earth. I'm your host, astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks. My purpose is to provide practical, unique, and insightful guidance to help you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and on this episode, I will discuss the astrology for the week of April 7th, 2024. First, let's take a look back at astrology in action. Ronna McDaniel is a U.S. political person. She was the head of the Republican National Committee and is controversial because she's been accused of trying to help Donald Trump overturn the election in that role. She's Mitt Romney's niece, and she was very highly esteemed at points, but due to her actions over the last couple of years, she's lost a lot of respect from certain people in that orbit. And she was hired by NBC News after she resigned or was pushed out of the Republican National Committee. And on Friday, before the eclipse, as Venus was approaching a sextile to Jupiter. So it's like this woman got this great job. She was going to make $300,000 a year being a political analyst on MSNBC and NBC News. And, that would involve very little work for a really big chunk of money. Well, the on-air talent at MSNBC, starting with one of their top-tier anchors, his name is Chuck Todd, revolted about her being chosen to be on the network because of her participation in part with trying to overturn the election. And one by one, the top anchors on MSNBC started talking about how inappropriate it was that she was hired. And then came the lunar eclipse on March 25th at 5 degrees of Libra. And eclipses can rise people up or knock people down. The lunar eclipses have full exposure, and events stem from emotional responses. By Thursday, when Venus was sextile Uranus, Uranus brings sudden breaks, she was fired. So she got this pushy job as Venus in Pisces, where it's in its exaltation. She's considered very talented at political stuff. Sextile Jupiter, she got this job with a lot of wealth and money. And then the lunar eclipse happened. We walk through a door. We turn around. There's a wall. The people, her coworkers, were saying, no, we're not having it. And by Thursday, with Venus sextile Uranus in Taurus, that money is cut off. I'm sure they have to pay her a bunch to make her go away. But anyway, she's gone. And the bigger picture is Pluto in Aquarius. Somebody talked about, some talking head, like a CEO type, was talking about who's in charge over there, the leader or the people. Well, the people. It's Pluto in Aquarius. It's power to the people. People are banding together in order to enact change. Last year, we had all these people banding together who were mad about the Bud Light ad and boycotted that company and drove Bud Light off shelves across the nation. So people are recognizing their power and banding together. Sometimes it's for good. Sometimes it's for ill. She has Mars at 5 degrees of Capricorn, and Jupiter is conjunct Neptune about 4 degrees of Sagittarius. And the eclipse was at 5 degrees of Libra. So 5 degrees of Libra squared her Mars in Capricorn. We don't know her birth time, so we don't know the houses. Capricorn rules work. Mars severs and separates. She also has Jupiter conjunct Neptune at 4 degrees of Sagittarius, so right around there. Jupiter, Neptune, to me, you get the big job and it goes away. And this was sextile the Libra eclipse. So you can see in her chart how you get this big job, The square is tense. She gets fired because of the sextile, people taking the opportunity, these top hosts, to talk about how inappropriate they thought it was that she was hired on air, as well as, I'm sure, to all of their management. So that's one of the first examples. Next, Beyonce released her Cowboy Carter album the day after Venus sextile Uranus. Uranus also rules big fame and it rules innovation. Beyonce has her Uranus in the same sign as her moon, and her birth time is rectified, I believe. So it might not be exact, but it's opposite her Chiron, and Chiron rules work. And she talks about how important it was for her to be an innovator. And you can see it in her work. She's constantly trying to do better and go farther and different. The Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is one of the biggest aspects of the year. Jupiter rules horses. She's on this big horse on the album cover. It also rules celebrities, and Uranus rules innovation. And this conjunction happened within a degree of her Chiron. Chiron is associated with work and marriage stuff, as well as the wounded healer. And the Magi astrologers have great books about Chiron. You can go to my Amazon storefront if you want to try to get one of them. They're hard to get, but they've done amazing work studying the charts of famous as well as wealthy people, successful people. Yeah. And they're making a yacht in her chart. So, like, she's been pointed at. Her career has been pointed at. When she released the album, Venus was separating from a sextile to Uranus and then approaching its conjunction with Neptune. So people are falling in love. Venus and Neptune and Pisces is like, oh my God, rose-colored glasses, a higher love, all of this kind of stuff. And the album really has the nature of the eclipse. Sun in Aries, moon in Libra. There's a lot of songs about relationships. She redid Dolly Parton's song Jolene and changed it from Jolene begging not to have that woman try to take her man to warning Jolene, you better not take my man or you're going to have consequences and they're going to be violent. So first there's the lunar eclipse in Libra, Sun in Aries, she's threatening violence, Aries, to moon in Libra, someone trying to interfere in her relationship. Libra rules relationships. It's also related to the solar eclipse. But yeah, the timing of it is really interesting. And she has a south node in Aquarius. There is this deep desire, constant need for her to improve herself. Aquarius sees what has been done, what is the standard, what is the tradition, and works to make it better. And it's very public with her. She has her Mars conjunct her North Node in Leo in her 10th house of the rectified chart. And Mars is that drive to succeed, Leo to create, to perform. The North Node is an amplifier. And that conjunction, she is probably such a taskmaster on herself. I can't even imagine. But the album is fire and you can check it out. The last thing I want to bring your attention to, there were so many stories, but we're focusing on these, is that Israel struck an aid truck by accident. They say it's by accident on the day Mercury went retrograde, and 7 aid workers were killed from I think it's World Food Kitchen. It's a horrible story. They were bringing aid into Gaza, or they just dropped it off, and 7 people were killed. The prime minister apologized, but people around the world are absolutely outraged by this because the company that brings in the aid says they are going to pause because they had the route all mapped out. They cleared it with Israel, and then their workers were killed. So Jupiter rules aid. Jupiter is a benefic. It wants to make things better. It wants to help people heal. And in the sign of Taurus, a sign of literally resources. And Uranus, sudden breaks, chaos. This truck was struck with a missile or whatever. On the same day, Israel struck an embassy in Syria where 3 generals from Iran were killed. So embassies are diplomatic places, and Libra rules diplomacy. So this is a Sun in Aries, a violent strike, opposite Moon in Libra at an embassy. So this has the potential to expand the war in Israel into Iran, because Iran has said they are going to take action. So this is incredibly concerning. It happened the day Mercury went retrograde. And so to me, that suggests they weren't thinking clearly, because this is outrageous. Also, they passed a law in Israel that the prime minister can limit the press for security reasons. And he has said Al Jazeera, which is a world-renowned news organization, can no longer broadcast in Gaza or Israel, I assume, because he says they are an arm of Hamas or something like that. So that's very concerning in terms of limiting freedom of speech. Israel is supposed to be a democracy. So this is an evolving situation that is, it's just getting more and more and more intense. Iran says they hold the U.S. partially responsible. So we are in difficult times right now. The Birthdate Company makes amazing products, and I am a proud affiliate. I especially love the Birth Date book. It's a fully personalized, beautiful, and unique reading of your birth chart with over 70 pages of detailed horoscope analysis. It is such high quality. I absolutely love it. They also make amazing birth date candles. You can get it for yourself or as a gift for someone else. So check out the store and use my coupon code Celeste10 for a 10% discount. Go to bit.ly/3PW3NFM. You can find that in the link in the show notes. Enjoy. The theme of this week is ducks in a row, and there are three big things I want you to think about as you navigate the week. The first is that we're going to have a solar eclipse on Monday at 19 degrees of Aries. With solar eclipses, you walk through a door, you turn around, and there's a wall. With any kind of eclipses, like they can pull you forward. And this is a North Node solar eclipse, so this could be very positive for people who want to do Aries things, pioneer new paths, have the bravery to take on some calculated risks, or to challenge themselves to grow in some way, or be entrepreneurial. Aries is independent, it's feisty, it's fiery, it has this optimism on the high road energy. And it's a really beautiful energy, Aries is. It's the first sign of the zodiac. It's the ram. We all have Aries somewhere in our chart. You can see where it is and think about, what do you want to grow and expand in that part of your chart? Because that's where the North Node is, and the North Node is an amplifier. Shadow Aries energies are being impulsive. Ready, shoot, aim is how Rick Levine describes it. It can be violent as well. It's ruled by the planet Mars. And this eclipse is being ruled by Mars and Pisces. So Mars and Pisces really is someone who can't shoot straight in some ways. Could be one of the shadows of that. It can be a beautiful, sexy dancer. It can be Mars and Pisces. Or an artist. I feel like Kandinsky, or the guy who, I can't think of his name, there's a movie about him, who's like threw the paint on the canvas really hard, is very Mars and Pisces energy. The tarot card is the Three of Wands, and that is a card of foresight, expansion, overseas travel. It's someone looking out over the ocean. It has this foreign influence to it. Its astrology correspondence is the Sun in Aries, and the Sabian symbol is a young girl feeding birds in the winter. And Linda Hill has this wonderful book about Sabian symbols, and she talks about with this symbol doing things without reward, like thinking about soup kitchens. Shadow energies are wanting to win approval, perhaps. But it brings to mind Beyonce's song Jolene, and in the song she calls Jolene a bird. Yeah. And Jolene's trying to, and she insinuates that Jolene is like scraps, like bird scraps, whereas we all know Beyonce is the stallion. Yes, we do. It also brought to mind people starving in Gaza. They're eating like animal feed and things because they have nothing to eat. It's just such a horrific situation. If you want to dive deeper into this eclipse, you can get the recording. Oh, you know what? There's still time to sign up for the workshop today. Oh, I should have said that at the top. I'm so confused. There's still time to sign up for the Aries workshop, where I'm going to talk all about this eclipse as well as Chiron. This next thing I wanted to make you aware of is Chiron is going Cazimi. Now, Chiron's not a planet. Sometimes it's called an asteroid or a centaur or an ice giant. It is between Saturn and Uranus. It's called the Rainbow Bridge between those two planets. Saturn is reality. It's the last planet we can see. Saturn is the structures. Uranus is the great innovator that breaks things, that enlightens. Uranus has also been called like Prometheus, who brought the fire from the gods to man. So you can think about Prometheus taking the fire from the gods and walking over that bridge and giving it to man. You might want to look up some things about Chiron. He was a healer and a teacher. He's called the Wounded Healer. He's a centaur, half man, half horse. Yeah. Now, at the eclipse, Chiron and the sun and the moon are all at 19 degrees in the same minute. I think it's like 24 minutes. So Chiron is Cazimi at the time. So Chiron is hidden under the beams of the sun, and he can whisper secrets to the king about what he wants to bring to life. So this is a beautiful opportunity to think about what you want to heal within yourself. And I'm going to go through things that everyone can think about based on their nodes at the workshop today. So if you're interested, there's still time to join. You can go to the link in the show notes or my website, astrologybyceleste.com. Now, when it's activated, there's always something in the news about people being hurt. Chiron and Aries, it's like handgun violence and all of this kind of stuff. But in our own lives, we have this beautiful opportunity for healing. And the sun in Aries is at the degree of its exaltation. The sun is exalted in Aries, like lifted up with a special seat at the table. So there is amazing energy to really work on healing those wounds. And Chiron's wounds, like they never totally heal, but you can learn from and grow from your experiences and help other people. So this is there's some really beautiful energy with this, but this is going to be an intense eclipse. There's going to be violent stuff happening. The last thing I want to make you aware of is that Mars and Saturn are going to meet at 14 degrees of Pisces on Wednesday. This is what has a lot of astrologers so concerned, because Mars and Saturn are the malefics. They take away from life. And Mars in Pisces is ruling this eclipse. So Mars, Saturn, and Pisces can be someone who has a Pisces belief system or a religion that they want to take action to hurt others. Mars attacks. Saturn can be cruel on the shadow side. Of course, both of these planets have beautiful things that they do as well, but it's tough energy to be having an eclipse with Chiron Cazimi, and it's going through America, and it's activating our chart. America is having a Chiron return the week after. This Mars-Saturn is quincunx, the Saturn of the USA. So the first thing I thought when I saw this is we're going to have some big water event. There could be some big storm that impacts lots of people. Pisces is a water sign. And with Mercury retrograde, this to me brings like some thoughts about winds, like tornadoes and things like that. Southern California, it's wild. We are getting storm warnings about tornadoes and thunderstorms and things in California, which is so unusual. So there's some big stuff going on in the collective energies around storms and things. Also, with Jupiter Uranus, I wrote the dam breaks was the first thing I wrote down about 2024. So there could be some water event where there's like a lot of water rushing around. Now, we had that big boat hit the bridge that crumbled. So that's a Jupiter Uranus event. So hopefully that's the only big Jupiter Uranus event in the United States. But we'll see. Yeah, I wrote down like it was when I was sometimes I just write and so things come through and I wrote down storming the beaches. So I thought there might be coastal storm happening around this time. We shall see. The other thing with Mars, Saturn, and Pisces, there could be a cyber event. That could be what happens. Pisces rules deception, Mars criminals. Also, lots of people are going to Niagara Falls. So with Mercury retrograde in the sign of Aries, tempers may be flaring and people may get irritated with each other because there's so many people fighting to get to the spot they want to get to, or with driving, honking at each other or something like that. Anyway, they may make news, something about all the people at Niagara Falls getting into some kind of conflict. I also thought about cruise ships. Pisces can be like people getting sick on a cruise ship or something like that, or something about people getting drunk. Pisces rules alcohol as well, and there being something that makes the news about that. Yeah, or some kind of, there's already been some news about like a bird flu or something, some kind of thing jumping into people. But hopefully that's probably just an isolated event. I'm not really worried about that. So those are just some of the Mars, Saturn, and Pisces things. There's no point in getting really scared about it, but life is not all Pollyanna, and we are having an eclipse with Mars, Saturn conjunction. There's going to be some difficult things, both in the United States, because that's where the eclipse is going through, and around the world. So just recognize these stories when you see them come up in the news. If you are embarking on a new journey, experiencing a major life event, feeling stuck, trying to make a difficult decision, or just looking to make positive changes, astrology can provide life-changing insights. There are several ways to work with me. You can come for a 30, 60, or 90-minute astrology consultation depending on your needs. Ask me a burning question and I'll record a video for you. Engage in longer-term cosmic success coaching where we work together on a 3-month basis to help you overcome blocks, improve your life satisfaction, build better relationships, accomplish your career goals, and understand yourself better using the tool of astrology. Or mystic mentoring if you're an aspiring astrologer and want help with chart analysis techniques. Go to astrologybyceleste.com to check out my offerings. If you have any questions, you can email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com. On Sunday, the word of the day is CARNAL. On this day, the moon is conjunct Neptune at 28 degrees of Pisces at 1:26 a.m. Pacific time. Moon Neptune can be really lovely energy. Neptune, the planet of illusions and delusions. It can be very romantic. Maybe your partner will make you breakfast in bed. The moon enters Aries at 4:24 a.m. Pacific time. Aries is feisty and fiery, and it's a bestial sign. And as soon as the moon enters Aries, and it sextiles Pluto. And moon sextile Pluto, moon and Aries sextile Pluto, it can get charged up with that plutonic energy. Now, used poorly, it can be like power struggles. But then the moon conjuncts Venus in Aries, and that can be really, really sexy. So that's why it's called carnal. Or someone could be like cooking breakfast or working on their car and their partner could come up and say, let's go to the bedroom or something like that. That happens at 9:21 a.m. Pacific time. So somebody might be asking you for an afternoon delight, and it's really a lovely energy. When the moon is conjunct Venus, that can be really, really nice. And Venus and Aries in her fall, like, yeah, I like it. On Monday, the word of the day is awareness. The moon is conjunct the north node at 15 Aries at 5:18 a.m. And then we have the solar eclipse at 19 Aries at 11:20 a.m. And then the sun Chiron Cazimi at 11:21 a.m. So when events make the news, maybe think about how they relate to these topics we've discussed. Aries topics, the North Node is an amplifier. Chiron is the wounded healer. Solar eclipses bring new starts. You can ask for, get quiet, take some time, ask for healing, but just be aware what comes up within yourself, what you hear from others, what you see on the news of the nature of what's going on at this eclipse. On Tuesday, the word of the day is shopping. The moon enters Taurus at 4:23 a.m. Pacific time and like crowded grocery stores. So if there's some kind of storm that started at the coast, maybe it's moving inland and people are stocking up on stuff so that they, can be fine at home. On Wednesday, the word of the day is failure. So the moon in Taurus carries the energy from Mars to Saturn by sextile. Now, earth and water sextiles can be beautiful where you make your own magic. But like if there's some kind of storms, this is where I can see like all that water and earth, like some kind of landslides. In California, on the day Mercury went retrograde or right around that, there was a landslide, like the part of Pacific Coast Highway fell off and there were all these people stranded somewhere because of it. And retrogrades bring delays and reversals and having to reroute things. And that's part of the story of Mercury retrograde for people here in California. The word of the day is failure because Mars can't, in Pisces, can't shoot straight. You're taking action. It meets Saturn. That can be kind of failure energy. Yeah, Mars rules power. Mars rules engines like cars. So Mercury's retrograde. There may be stories about that. You may see a car on the side of the highway or something like that. People's aim is not great. But Mars in Pisces also can be like beautiful dancers, but with the Saturnian energy, they're grieving something. If you've ever watched So You Think You Can Dance, there's a choreographer, Mia Michaels, who has these most beautiful dances, but oftentimes the topics would be around grief or loss or mourning. So that also brings this Mars, Saturn, and Pisces in mind. Yeah. And then the moon is going to sextile Uranus. There was a big earthquake in Taiwan. On Thursday, the word of the day is relief. The moon enters Gemini at 5:58 p.m. This is an air sign. Air connects, air communicates. It's ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is retrograde. So notice you may see people texting the wrong person, mixing up times for meetings, all of that kind of stuff today. But if you are prepared and check everything, you'll be fine. This is the day Mercury goes Cazimi, so the sun and Mercury meet. Mercury's retrograde, so it's the interior conjunction. It's happening at 22 degrees of Aries. So if you have any planets or placements around there, there may be a story in your own life. If you get quiet around 4:02 p.m., you may get some downloads about the next actions you really should be taking. Great day to slow down. Retrogrades invite us to slow down, to reflect, reassess, go within. Smell the roses. It's spring. There's going to be a waxing crescent moon where maybe you'll see the light around 7:06 p.m. Pacific time. If there's people who need help, the cavalry arrives. On Friday, the word of the day is running. This day will fly by. There's lots of moon aspects. So watch your words. Like Mercury in Aries. Aries is fast and it's retrograde. So, you're talking so fast, you're spilling out things and you say the wrong thing. So silence is golden on this day because the moon is making so many aspects and it's going to square Saturn and Mars. And it's not a good day to be running your mouth. Let's just put it that way. On Saturday, the word of the day is showers. The moon will enter the sign of Cancer at 1:44 a.m. Pacific time. Cancer is a water sign, so some people may want to let the tears flow if you watch a sad movie. April showers bring May flowers. That's part of why it says it's called showers. But like if you are impacted by this Mars-Saturn conjunction, what can happen is you're working so hard, and then you get to the wall and you break through. So that can be something that some people do this week. Their hard work, they get on the other side. I mean, it's still hard for a little bit because Mars is still carrying that Saturnian energy for a little bit, but you're past the hardest part of it. And so there may be a sense of relief and you may want to go get yourself some May flowers. Yes. Well, it's not May, it's April. But anyway, you get the point. That's it for this week's episode. Feel free to email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com with any astrology and action stories about what you see going on in your own life or in the news. You can also just let me know how the daily themes are playing out for you, how the words of the day show up in your life. Take care, and I'll catch you next week. Thank you for listening to Celestial Insights. To learn more about my work, please visit my website, astrologybyceleste.com, where I offer personal readings, horary consultations, cosmic coaching, group events, and classes to help guide people to higher levels of fulfillment. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook at Astrology by Celeste. If you enjoyed Celestial Insights, please help others find the show. Follow, rate it 5 stars, or write a nice review. I would so appreciate it. I'm astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks, and I'll be back next week.